questions like that, right? So really, for the, like regarding the questions that come from the cohort from the one right? Online. So I have some.
Oh, yeah, that
Okay.
is monitoring questions.
Sure.
Absolutely. And then on chat, if we see questions on chat, we'll yell them out.
Yeah, I've got both the Slack channel and the chat.
You can tuck that one away. I think it's working. If they were happy with the sound, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks good. And I haven't heard anybody complain.
Hey everybody, my name is Mohammed, and today I'm going to present one of the sessions at this area. So called like cyber infrastructure user support. So first I want, like usually in the beginning of my presentations, so I do like have some quotes. So if you don't enjoy my presentation, at least like you get some useful quotes. So it's like from Isaac Asimov, and I really like this quote. Who am I? My name is Mohammed, as I said. Like I'm originally back home from Jordan. I finished my bachelor degree in computer science. It was back in home in Jordan, and then after that I went to Malaysia and I finished my first master's degree in information technology, which is IT. That, like Henry was talking about, difference IT and computer science or computer scientist. The other thing is, then I came back. I went to Saudi Arabia. After that, I served as an instructor at Qasim University. I was teaching some computer science classes. I worked there for 4 years, since 2008 like till 2012. Then after that, I decided to come back, to come to United States to continue my study. I went to attended like New Mexico State University. I finished my master's degree in computer science in 2014, and now like I did some part of my PhD. And after that, like I moved to Kansas State University, working with Dr. Anderson in the field of high performance computing. Since my working at New Mexico State University, I served as computer cyber infrastructure architect team, and I served there like as a part-time, and I think it's a good opportunity for me to share my experience with you guys. I served since like 2017, January 2017 till January 2019. And my role actually over there was cyber infrastructure user support. So it's the same exactly as the name of the presentation, or the title of the presentation. Also, like I'm an Exceed campus champion, student campus champion, not the student campus champion. I'm still a student. Then after that, like I got also like in 2018, 2019, I was nominated as an Exceed Fellows program. So this is like the agenda and layout what we're gonna talk about today. So we're gonna talk about like some of the CI user expectations, some definitions, categorization for the people or the users of the CI, and common elements. We will talk about politics, policies, and conflicts, and personal management. Then after that, we're going to talk about the ways to do outreach and the education for the cyber infrastructure. I'm going to share with you guys at the end like some of the results that is really like cyber infrastructure user support work. Do we really need it or not? Some people, they say like, okay, you know, like your job is really easy. It's like it doesn't need that much effort. You are just dealing with people and just you know, solving some small issues. But is that really happened, or is totally really different from what people are expecting? The other thing I'm gonna ask you at the end, like, what lessons that you learned from this presentation, or maybe you could, like, or you want to share some of the thoughts or ideas about the cyber infrastructure. So, first of all, before talking about cyber infrastructure user support, let's talk about what's the cyber infrastructure. Is there anybody have an idea or thoughts about what's the cyber infrastructure? I'm wondering if there's anybody. Yes.
Cyber infrastructure is a collection of tools and systems that are in place to help facilitate a higher workload that would be possible to
Absolutely, that's totally true. The thing is, for the cyber infrastructure itself, we have three components. The first component, which is like a technology, the other one is people, and the third one is the effect of what. So when we are talking about cyber infrastructure, the cyber infrastructure consists about computing system, data storage system, advanced infrastructure, instruments, data repositories and visualization environment. The thing with all of these components, they are linked together. Altogether, they are linked with the software and high-performance networks. And then after that, all of these also are managed by people. The goal of that infrastructure with the technology and people together is to improve the research and scholarly productivity. Then after that, also the other goal is to enable knowledge breakthroughs and discoveries. The thing is what they are trying to do, the goal of that thing is just to enable things that is some people they thought is not happened or it can't be happened for some research or some science. So now when we are talking about cyber infrastructure user support, then after that we are talking about a key element about this definition. So the key element that we are talking about is people. So people is our focus. So is our concern is people, serving people, helping people, and try to improve their capabilities to do their research, or even though to accelerate their work to publish papers or achieve their goals. So what's the cyber infrastructure user support also? We are serving as a bridge between people, cyber infrastructure users, and the high performance computing components. So we are the bridge that will help people to achieve or to learn how to use these resources and use them efficiently. So as a cyber infrastructure user support, so we know that in every company, in every institution, there is kind of an equation that means success. So how we can be successful, how we can be successful in our work as a cyber infrastructure user. The thing is if you have vendors, what you expect from them. So if you are an institution, you wanna buy an equipment from a vendors. So what do you expect from them to be satisfied? This is a question that is comes to our mind. Even we are kind of a provider that will provide people some services, and as an employees, we want to get our goal to want to get them satisfied about our service. The thing is, the equation that we made, it's about helping and supporting people. So if we help and support people, we solve their problems and building a relationship. That means we are successful users. So we did our job really good and we achieve our goals. So in this topic, we need to also differentiate between the cyber infrastructure and conventional IT. So there's a lot of people that are combining them together, and this is you are doing the same thing, but we are not. They are doing something totally different than what we are doing. There is actually, I think it's a very big list, and it's really hard to distinguish in one slide or two slides. But there are some, some points that we can talk about. And if you have like some other ideas, please like stop me or share with me some ideas, and we can discuss it. The thing is, as a cyber infrastructure, what we are care about the performance, because we are working with high performance computing. So the performance is the key of our machines. What makes us like distinguish between others, like between normal computers, that's like we have powerful computers, we have more speed, more memory, more high-speed network. So like people or users, they can achieve their goals faster. But in other case, we don't separate it from the IT people. So our work is totally connected to their work. Because if they don't do their work, so we can't do our work, and vice versa. And like if we don't do our work, their work is like it's gonna be meaningless. Nobody's gonna use their resources. So we completed each other, which is very important. As a cyber infrastructure user, as user support, our goal, as I said, like supporting end users. So our goal is supporting end users. We are trying always to support them and listen to them to help them to achieve their goals and do that. Also, cyber infrastructure user support, like cyber infrastructure people, they are common used like IT in uncommon ways, like the common IT technologies in uncommon ways. I don't know, like somebody have like any ideas about using that or about this. I don't know if there's anybody like that. Yes.
So I was actually less focused on that one than on the previous one, and on a couple slides back where you had the building relationships part. And I actually think in some ways that's qualitatively different from the enterprise side, in the sense that it's not universal by any means, but much of what enterprise does is once they've solved your problem, they don't need to continue a relationship with you because now your network port has been turned on, or now you have a functioning printer or whatever it is. And whereas what we're involved with on the cyber infrastructure side, we know we're going to be revisiting those researchers repeatedly, and we need to keep pace with what it is they're doing, and not just what's that technology goal, but why are they bothering to do that? What's the actual research goal? And so I think you really nailed it with that point, that's co-equal with the solving the cyber infrastructure problem is maintaining the relationship with the researcher, because it's a long haul thing.
That's true. The thing is, like, as you say, like, sometimes you expect people are not gonna come and visit you again. They got their work done, oh, they forget about you. But they come and visit you again when you just like, they have another problem, or they have some other issues, and oh, you are my friend. I want to get like your help. This is the thing.
And from an enterprise IT perspective, what you're explaining right there is almost a de-evolution of what we typically work with. Because as you start out at a help desk and work your way up, you progressively talk to fewer and fewer people.
Absolutely.
Now you're talking about as you gain strength in enterprise IT, you're rolling back over to a people-facing position to better understand where technology needs to go so that you can effectively lead enterprise.
Absolutely.
So I didn't hear terms like white glove and high touch until deep into my computing career, and I only heard those terms from people on the enterprise side, where those things generally are not considered good because they're very expensive with what's considered to be low impact. But it's the nature of cyber infrastructure user support. You don't talk about high touch and white glove because that's just regular day to day. We don't have a term for it, because it's just normal. It's the water that we swim in.
Yeah. And also one of the rules also, one of the points that is like differentiate, like it's like we use, as I said here, like you share and dedicate the resources together. Like an example about that, like maybe like in high performance computing or like Westward, like we have some dedicated resources that is specifically for some people. People can also have some like on their own, you know, nodes or clusters. But usually, like in the cyber infrastructure field, that is, we use the resources unless they're like if they are not using it. So if they are not using the resources, we share them with other users so they can get benefits. So it requires a specific middleware and software layers. People also, as a cyber infrastructure, actually we mentioned about like in previous presentations, when we say about like installing softwares, and it's like in the high performance field, high performance computer field is totally different than your desktop. Each software is totally sometimes different between others and have some requirements to install. Instead, the same as the code compilation, and also maybe it's specific knowledge about application assets. There's some applications are specifically like need some knowledge, a specific knowledge, because you know, like high performance computing or clusters, people from different disciplines are using, like biologists or physics or chemists, people they are using, and there's some application they need some knowledge that is, you know, cyber infrastructure people even not aware about sometimes what these specific programs do. So in some applications, so it needs some knowledge. And there is also like usually the high performance computing or cyber infrastructure equipments, they are irregular by usage. And the high performance computing, like for the clusters, they need sometimes a very, like in some certain time, there's a huge amount of job that's submitted to that cluster. While, like for example, during the summer or during the vacation, there's nobody submitting jobs to the cluster. So people are more needy. They need their work to get done, and I don't know. Like sometimes, like it's really hard to give them excuses. So, what's the cyber infrastructure hardware source? Like, what resources you can get as cyber infrastructure?
It's a little bit slower and a little bit more clear on audio. Yeah, they're saying
Audio is a little tricky to understand.
Yeah, it's getting choppy.
Is it because of the?
Maybe move that up a little bit on your shirt, and talk a little louder and a little slow.
Okay, I don't know how it's right now. Can you ask me?
You gotta talk a little bit so they get.
Yeah, talk a little bit. Do a little bit more, like let's do this slide and we'll get feedback on it.
Sure. So about the cyber infrastructure hardware resources. The resources for the cyber infrastructure like can be as your local resources, or it can be as external resources, or maybe it's kind of as a commercial resources. For the local resources, there's some people who own their own clusters. For example, you have one?
No, it's better.
Oh, okay. So, as I remember at University University, one of the faculties, like they have a cluster like for his own and doing his research for them. Usually, like, okay, if some faculty or some people who have their own resources, they can keep it like in their office or whatever. They need like some special equipment to keep like server rooms. Slower the voice.
Still talking a bit fast. No,
The voice is fine. They want you to talk a little slower.
Oh, okay.
Accent.
Absolutely. So, yeah, some people like when they have their own cluster, it's they need like some special rooms to keep their resources. So they need us to give them that support and that help to get their resources. In the other way, like for also in this, you can find HPC resources usually in your institution. If you have your own resources, it's going to be really small. It doesn't have that much capability. If it's for the institutional resources, usually it's bigger. It's have more capabilities, but it depends about your institutions. Some institutions have really big resources. Some institutions have small ones. You can get some resources or HPC resources by using NSF resources, such as Exceed or like Blue Waters. And usually they have very big capabilities. So you can even choose or ask for DOE resources if you can get access at all. And there is also some commercial resources, which is, I think, it's even like have more capabilities, but it costs you money. It depends if you have grants, if you have money you can spend in the commercial ones. It's a good option also, like Amazon or as well. So, why we need the CI or cyber infrastructure resources? We talked about the types of the cyber infrastructure resources, and now like why we need them. For sure, we need them because like our applications, our computations needs more CPUs. We need our results to get done faster. And sometimes like your applications, instruments or analysis that needs like more RAM or more memory to get results. And also sometimes you need a licensed software, and it's very expensive sometimes. So I know some softwares that cost like $5,000 per year as a license, and like people use their institution usually or their other cyber infrastructure resources just to get like this license for free, and they can use it. Also need advanced visualization sometimes or database to store their data, and sometimes storage. Storage is very important. If your experiments needs more storage, that you don't have it, so like it's a way to use the other resources like your institution cluster or so, who are the cyber infrastructure? Who are our users? Usually, when we are talking about users, like there's different ways we can talk about them in details and advanced slide. But in general, like the CI users are the institutional administrators, and it can be also faculty, and also can be normal users. The normal users, for example, like usually it's students, either undergrad, grad students, or postgrad students. For the faculties, can be like PIs who are have their own grants, or normal faculties, or sometimes even staff. So in general, like as an institution, we have users from all the levels of the institution. For example, if it's an university, we have from the students to like the administrator. So when we are talking about the institution administrators, there is like some rules that is like, you know, tie them as a user. And for institution administrators, like they are founder and supporter. Even they don't know, they don't use the HPC process. They are doing the decision making, and even they don't know how to use the HPC resources. So why they are users? Because their expectation is high, and they want to move forward and get their institution to be better and better. So by enabling like more science or research for their institution, brings more fund to their institution, and low cost to institution. So people in their institution, they don't have to pay money to use the resources, and it brings prestige to the university. Like getting, you know, like maybe sometimes in the first section is like a ranked university, and the other section, oh, we have like a very, very big cluster, and like we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's kind of prestige and like for their reputation. So the faculty, the other type of the users that we have is the faculty. And the faculty is researchers. Some of them, they have fun, some of them, they don't. But usually, like, these researchers are not the main, let's say, like, user of the agency. Because as a faculty, they are relying on their students and grad students to do, like, computation or doing jobs with the agency resources. So the majority of the users, they are not the faculty, but they are relying on their students. But then the other way, like the faculty, when they have funds, they can fund the cyber infrastructure. So they can put more money. So they can, like, we can buy more equipment and, you know, expand our resources. So they are very important to our job as a cyber infrastructure support, user support. But even though they are not using it like frequently as other users. What's their expectations? So when we are talking about faculty, they are not using the resources that much, but they're using it, but not that much as other users. But what's their expectation? Their expectation, they want their work to get done, as every user. They want, like, the resources to be available 24/7, especially for their students, because if their students get their job done, that means they got their job done. They need assistance to be available when they are needed, and they want to maximize the availability of the resources. They usually want, if they need, like, for example, a specific amount of resources, they would like to have it in what they ask for. And minimum communication, so they don't like to deal with us because I think they don't have time. They want just, like, to get their applications, their work done, and that's it. So they are not the first communicator between the CI user support and you know, that, or the. Also, like, the other thing, that the last point, which is usually they like to have some reports, as most of the faculties do. If you have expand your resources, if you have some expenses, if you want to charge them something, they like to know in advance, because they can consider in their, like, you know, proposals or in their research. The last thing, which is the actual CI user roles, which is, as we said, like, graduate students, postgraduate, and normal users. Some of them as faculty, but most of them as, like, as I said, postdoc and others. Permanent research staff or research faculty, and some of them, they are from out of the institution. They come from outside. If the institutions, there's some institutions allow people to use their resources from outside the institution. So what's their expectation? Always and always and always. We want the service to be having, you know, running 24/7. We need help, like, their expectation to have help when it's needed. They need also to help, like, communicate with them in their level. If they need some specific help, so they can get the help with the you know, level of their knowledge. And also, like, they want to make or to use the resources as simple as possible. They want, because, like, users as students, doctoral student, postdoc, or students, the one who doesn't use high performance computing before, they want the service to get, like, reach them as easy as possible. Because if they feel it's really complicated, they can't use it, then it's gonna be, like, harder for them, and they're gonna just, like, you know, be lazy, or, like, just get away from that way, from the way of, like, using it. The thing is, this is really, like, hard to deal with sometimes. But as a cyber infrastructure user support you should have the ability to deal with these situations. And give them the help as much as possible. So there is three kinds of users. As every user in the high performance computing, there is a level, and it's really, really, really hard to define sometimes the level of the students or the users. Over the time, you can distinguish the level of it. Some of them, like you can distinguish the level between just like a normal conversation between you and the user. Sometimes between discussing about some issues that they have, you can distinguish the level of the user. Sometimes between talking about some topics, talking about their research, what they're gonna do, how they can do it. Then after that, like you can decide the level of the user. There is. It's not.
Yeah, like maybe just get a little closer. There's more comments about.
Okay. So there is. I don't know, like my voice is low, or is it good or not?
So one person pointed out that it sort of sounds like you're being picked up by both the ceiling mics and the lapel mic.
So should
I honestly don't know what to do about that. I don't think that's going to make any difference.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're all over the place. Do the best you can. Speak slowly and loudly, and that's probably the closest we're going to have to a solution.
Honestly, I'm sitting here screaming and I'm listening to the audio, and it sounds very similar to what I'm hearing in real time. So I mean, not a lot of difference.
Okay.
I think some of it's will be bandwidth issues on the other end.
Okay. So in the case, as we said, like it's really sometimes hard to distinguish between the level of the users, but as a cyber infrastructure user support, we can distinguish sometimes. We just assume it's like a basic. It's a basic level. Okay. The categories, like the levels of the users, we separate them in 3 levels or divided them into 3 levels, which is the novice one, the beginner users, or intermediate users, or an advanced user. So when we talk about novice or beginners, there is some characteristics that's involved to that user, which is like they have a very little experience with high performance computing, with Linux, which is a very important aspect of the HPC. Some of them, they use some specific applications like MATLAB or R, but just as like a normal use, not that deep, or as a professional users. And usually, like they have, some of them, they have very limited or knowledge about some programming languages, like Python or R, etc. And most of them actually, they don't know about parallelism. And they thought, beginners, they come and they thought that the HPC or high performance computing work as their desktop or as a normal serial applications. So as one of our job to teach them how to do that, teach them how to use it, or how, like, what's the concept of high performance, so they can understand like step by step and they can get it. So there is a common point that is related to the beginners, and there's some examples of most of the common requests from them. They have some issues usually with Linux, using command line, login procedures, how they can log into the cluster, either from like inside the institution or outside the institution. Finding the softwares, because they don't know, like, just like, oh, it's just a black, it's like a black screen. I don't know where's my applications. How can I use some programming languages, some models. They don't have any idea how to use it. Documentations, if they try to find something or if they try to do some job from their own, it's sometimes hard for them to find where they can find the information that they need, for example, to use some applications or to get help from some applications. Most of them actually become also, they have problem with writing secrets, which is a very, very common with the beginner users. Because they never deal with it before, so they see it's totally different and it's really hard for them. And it's very common. So we talked already about these, like not aware about like starter channel or feed insecure. Actually, this is very important. So in the beginner users are usually shy, and they feel themselves, we are afraid to ask some questions because they think these questions are, not relevant or like not important or like silly or stupid. But seriously, this is like very important for us to hear them or make them feel comfortable about it. Usually users, they come to us, okay, this is easy, you can do it 1, 2, 3, 4. If you don't understand, it's totally normal. People usually do that. People usually make mistakes, and that's totally normal. Don't feel you are, yes.
Speaking on that right there, would you recommend taking more of an approach of pointing them in the direction of some information, or just flat out giving it to them and hoping that they recall that information later?
So the way I usually tell them, guide them step by step at the beginning. Because, I remember myself when I first used HPC, it was totally different world. And even I'm a computer scientist. And then what about like other people, which is from different disciplines? Even they are not good at like using their laptops, and you just like driving them to using high performance. So usually I spend really lots of time, and we will talk later about like the ways we can maybe gather more students and do it efficiently. But usually I do step by step, very slow. Then after that, when I see them like gets better and better, like I just try to give them some responsibilities to do their work by themselves.
I was just wondering about the potential application for like a knowledge base or some kind of self-help. I mean, from an IT perspective, we're dealing with research.
Yes.
So in my mind, logically, you're going to need Google before you get there.
Absolutely. But even though, like we will take in the future, even in a few slides, it's the skills to teach people how to Google.
Right.
Because some people don't know how to Google. There are some, yes.
Well, I think the related issue is there's also a lot of idiosyncrasy and a lot of research computing systems. And so if they Google, they might come up with the right solution from somebody else at some other place. On the other hand, they might come up with the wrong solution from somebody else at some other place and then implement that, and then they're angry that your machine is busted because the solution somebody else reported works great at their institution with their scheduler and their quirks, doesn't work on yours. And it would be wonderful if we could produce knowledge bases that were straightforward, but my experience has been it's very idiosyncratic, and the labor cost of producing that knowledge base at scale, so to speak, can be greater than the labor savings on the user by user basis.
Okay.
To be honest, like, yeah, this happened to me. Like, this is like I was thinking exactly about the way or the best way to get, involved or teach students or like users how to use the HPC, and what's the best way. And the thing is, sometimes there's, as Henry said before, there's no best way for like practicing, or there's no best practice. Life changing, people changing, even the evolution of the technology is changing. So, but like one of the ways that I was thinking about, to be honest, like having a really broad community just for cyber infrastructure that created an online resources and online courses and resources, and even sometimes, like as a like a university course, you have this online course, you take it and you take some quizzes, exams, that teach you how to use the high performance.
Now, I can see where some of the more elegant, in the context of the beginning, I can see where some of the more simple things like doing an SSH connection to a remote node somewhere to create that connection, that would be something that I could do pretty quickly and easily over the phone. But when it starts getting into how to run a domain-specific package, that's when we start getting, and I guess that's where I'm going to have to step up and learn the role of the researcher, because I'm not familiar with MATLAB or some of these other applications we're talking about. I don't know how to connect.
And okay, like in this case, there is two ways. So the first way, there's some common applications, some common issues with the users.
Right.
So these issues, we can build them together. We can teach them just once, and then after that, we can get some few people or few users, they come back and just like ask more about that issue. But if you are in the specific application, that's a totally another issue. If everybody wants to use their application, sometimes we don't know. Sometimes, like as a cyber infrastructure user support, we don't know what these applications do. Sometimes, like you request this application, I don't know what this application do. If you want me to help you about your application, I need to study about it and spend much more time about it. I don't know. This is hard in this case. It's like the cyber infrastructure user support people, they are, they don't know what to do, because at the end you want to get them satisfied. You want them to get satisfied, and then after that they're not getting their sense. But I don't know. Like, this is really hard. I don't know if there's any way.
Yeah, the goal of my documentation I write for programs, whether I use them or not, is to demonstrate running one simple test case with all the idiosyncrasies of the local cluster. Here's the module you load. Here's an input file you can get. You should get this type of output. If you get that, that's not a guarantee that the whole thing is working for every problem you might ever run, but it's a guarantee that it is not completely broken, so that later when you go and you have your own input file and something goes wrong, we figure out, is it something in your input file or is there some feature I missed somewhere? But it's to give a baseline of.
That's really beneficial for lots of users. But there's lots in the other way that is, using some specific tools. That is like every tool, like, I don't know, can we make easy steps for every tool, or just like for just a common tool? This is like, I don't know. Yes.
I think that's actually a really key issue, because so here at this institution, we support currently something like 400 different user level applications. Some are libraries, but 400 packages of some kind. At the national centers, it's roughly a factor of 10 more, something like 4,000. Now, of that, maybe 1% of those are like the workhorse codes that get used by lots of different groups. So you could put some effort into a small subset that's very popular, but that still leaves something like half of your users completely out in the cold, and the labor cost of creating documentation for each and every one of those codes for those users may not pay for itself.
Right.
So it's a balancing act of, these are the packages that are worth putting labor into to create some user documentation, because it's going to pay off in terms of reducing total workload on our end, right? We'll point all, at this institution, we would point all the Wharf users at a particular page to help them use Wharf. But there would be no point in creating a page about SIR, because it's one guy.
And I think even though it depends about how many people you have in your team. If you have none employees, okay, I can put more efforts for other users. If you are just a few, I can't, force them to work more and put the efforts for other users. we usually, as Henry said, we usually take the common, what's the mostly usable applications from users. What's the mostly, like what's people use as applications, as even though like storage or like whatever like their needs. So we put concentrate of that first. Then after that, if we have more time, we can help other aspects.
Yeah, I would also like to add on to the documentation aspect. One thing to consider is, like going back to your previous point on developing this relationship with the user in question. So we can assume if they are a beginner on a Linux system, that they might not know much about Linux, but it would be wrong to assume that in most cases that the software that they're trying to use, they're not knowledgeable about. Sometimes when you can just get them up and running on a Linux system, they can get their software up and running, and usually they can figure out their workflow. And if you have a good enough relationship with them, you can sometimes ask them for an example of their workflow, and that could go into your documentation. And sometimes in the case where a user really does not know to use the software, you can either help them network with this other person who already has the software installed, or refer them back to the workflow that they have been working on. Because we have PhD students who have been using the software for the past 4 or 5 years, and they have their workflow set out, and you could help them interconnect, and that's one way we can facilitate better research on the customer.
To just add on to this, like the use case example was literally that we had a bunch of people coming up like, hey, how do we use compile TensorFlow with GPUs? And UIT has no idea, but then we find that this group in information systems has been doing that for months, if not years. So we reach out to them, hey, how do you do this? And because we need to deploy it soon. And they set us on that and give us what documentation they have. So for very high level things where you need someone to be a domain expert, you either get an RA who's a domain expert and can write you the documentation, assuming there's a large enough use case. Or you see who's already using it, has found their own way to use it, and you loop them in for the way to go. But then to go to his number 4 point, it's like identical requests of straightforward issues. Hey, how do I look up this module? Hey, my Slurm is giving an error. It might make sense to just once and for all have documentation. How to run a program, how to compile a program. Because everybody is going to ask that.
Believe me, every HPC center, if you go to their website, you can find tons of documentations, tons of like steps, how to use applications, how to submit jobs. But you know what's the problem? Yes, the problem is, first of all, either it's like people are lazy. So people like just want to get, what they want to just very easy from like one sentence or 2 sentences. That's why, like for the beginners, we don't give them lots of information. We just tell them, oh, this is the HPC and this is how you can run it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You go and just follow these steps, and your job is just running, and you get your results. Then after that, they can explore. They can, give more questions. Oh, okay, what if I did this? What if I did this? What if I use this? And this like all is, like open question for them. If they ask about them, so we can give them answers, and we can guide them to that more documentation, so they can, discover more and more, because they will like. The thing is, like, make the users love working with HPC. Don't let them like hate it from the beginning. If they hate it from the beginning, they will never understand. This is like, I think is very important for, as a cyber cyber infrastructure user support, is very important to make people or users love to use HPC, or make it easier for them.
So how often do you find yourself being asked, basically, like,
oh, can we talk about it? Okay, this is one of the points that is like very important. As just like one slide, I'm gonna talk about it. Just like let's talk about it just in a few minutes. Yeah, usually people are lazy.
And the reason why I asked that, I threw out a common term which is called knowledge base. I'm wondering about the feasibility and whether the research community at large would buy into, like, say, for example, at our university, if we implemented our own discussed internally, not for the, world at large, but at our university. Would that be something that you would participate in, or would you run into the same thing where, like you said, they're not always.
Yes. Yes.
Have a little experience with that. We have a wiki that is public, but we encourage that only our users can sign it, only UW users can sign it. But we encourage researchers to contribute to it all the time. It doesn't really happen a lot. But
Yeah, because I mean, that's the last thing I want to do is I don't want to waste time trying to implement something that's just going to sit there too long.
Yeah, the thing is, I think, like, from my experience working with this field, I think there's some way you can encourage people. For example, do prerequisites before getting their passwords. So if you want to get your password, like what we did, like at the New Mexico State University, we had just like onboarding meeting. You can't get your password. I'm gonna give you your password until you take this training. So we can make sure that at least they can use the resources properly, like, and doesn't do like a very like bad mistakes. The other thing now, like we use, like we moved to the an online course. If you finish that online course and you solve that all like quizzes and you get like 100%, then after that, like automatically we can send you the password. Then if you have your issues, like you can sign up a one-to-one meeting, or send them emails, or like submit your tickets. But yeah, it's a very, very hard issue to deal, because always dealing with people is the hardest. It's very hard. Dealing with machines is much easier. But with people, yeah, because everybody has their own personality. Everybody has their own knowledge. Some people are good, some people are not good. Some behavior are good, some behavior are bad. So we gotta talk about it also. So like, yeah, this is some common things, like they don't know how to, even sometimes some users, they don't know how to join the email list, or if there is a group email for the HPC people, they don't know how to send their emails. Some of them, they don't have lack experience with text editors, which is very common. They are just using Word, Excel, text documents, and that's it. But when it comes to the Linux world, that's not gonna work. So it's gonna take them. So usually what we guide them at the beginning to the Nano, because it's the easier one. It's like, which is mine, I don't prefer it, but like for the beginner users, probably is gonna be the best choice. Load and unload models. This is a very, very, very cool. People like new users, they come and just, oh, I did 1, 2, 3, 4 as you told me, and then after that, when I run the program, it's not running because like their program is not loaded, and they don't know after like you log in, you log out, like your low model, like you are using the models, it's not working anymore. You need to load it here, and even like put it in your secrets. Software installations also helping with data also, like people are very good. But like as I said here, people or users, the beginners gets better and better over the time. When they are using more and more, they got much. So this is like some common approach that is like we recommend for the CI user support people to use with beginner users. First of all, trust, or build the trust, is very important. You don't want to lose users. You are here to help. The other thing is maintain the documentations. Put them, like, make them very short and precise, and in the websites, don't hide them, because usually, like from my experience, what I see, like documentation is hidden in the websites. I think it should be like very clear to the users who visit the websites. So make them clear to them and guide them how to use it. Some other things I think we already talked about. The other type of user, which is intermediate users, which is there's something I didn't mention about the beginners. They are the majority of the users. The majority of the users, they are the beginners. I don't want to put a percentage, which is, I don't know, like, because it's different between institution to other institution. But the majority usually, in most of the institutions, the beginners are the majority. After that, the intermediate users become at the second level of the users. And they are the, like less than the beginners, usually in each institution. And they have also some characteristics that are different from the beginners. And what's their characteristic? For example, they have more knowledge how to use Linux in a specific way, command line, how to submit jobs. They already know about it. How to use some specific applications, world models, they know about it. Usually, these people, they play the role, and actually they help us. That's what I really like about it. If there's a lab, for example, myself as an example, when I first learned about high performance, there is a friend, he's a very close friend actually. His name is Umar. I really like to thank him. He's now working at Sandia Labs. When I have some questions, he answered me. I don't want to go to the CI user support people and ask them, every time about some specific questions or easy questions or some question that is related to my field. So usually, like these people, they play the role with teaching other people in their labs, and actually they're really doing good. And sometimes they're better than us. Because what I think, learning from your friend is much better learning from other, and easier, and faster from learning from someone else. And they can spend more time with you and guide you oh, okay. And they know exactly what you want. This is the most important thing, because they are working in the same area or the same problem. So if there is somebody who is intermediate in their lab, there's other friends or other beginners, they come to us, we give them some knowledge, but then after that, they disappear for a little while because they find someone else they can help, which is the intermediate users. And sometimes actually there's some other help from them. They always report about some problems. If there's a problem happening with some software installations, some applications are not working properly, so they give us a feedback and told us there is 1, 2, 3, 4 happening to this.
Well, and I think it goes a little deeper than that because they're at the point where they can explain and articulate what it is that's wrong in a way that helps us to actually fix the problem. I think one of the difficulties that beginners have, and it's very natural that they would have this problem, is they can't even express what it is that's gone wrong.
Yes, absolutely. That's so true. Actually, I had many users. They come to me and they were arguing, I was arguing with them, not arguing, discussing with them about this issue, why it's happening. And they have really good knowledge that explains sometimes the problem about, what's happening over there, how we can solve it. Especially if it's happened to an application that they are using. And they are, have experience with, which is really good. So all of these are the common points. Also, we already talked about it. I hope I didn't miss any points of them. Also, these are common needs. Also, the same thing. And the thing is about them. There is some common approach that is, I think it's good to have and deal with intermediate users. Don't lie to them. This is a very important. And don't sometimes because they know exactly if you are lying most of the times. But for beginners, if you say, okay, we can't do this, they will understand because they don't know the issue. But for the intermediate users, usually they know what you are talking about. So sometimes if you are trying to escape from a problem or just be honest with them. Told them, okay, there's some problems with there, like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can't do it because 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes if you don't know, that's not shame or not really something bad. We are people. Some people they have more knowledge than others. So if you don't know how to solve the problem that they propose to you, tell them I'm working with it. We'll let you know like step by step, and then after that you go and you discuss with your co-workers and try to find a solution. If you can't find a solution, tell them honestly, okay, I didn't find a solution. I'm trying to do that, and I apologize. Because what's the point of that? Trust. Build a relationship. It's very, very important. If you lie, then you broke that trust between you and you don't want this to happen.
I think from the IT side of the house, it's a battle that we're fighting in our own enterprise IT organization. But one of the common things that we run across is a consistent lack of asking enough for the right kind of question. So just because you're presenting a problem, initially I might think, well, that's not an IT issue. That's something with the application working. But if I actually start asking questions that lead you down that rabbit trail, I'm going to uncover something eventually that gets to the root of the problem. And I think IT organizations, both in the corporate world as well as post-secondary education, they get to the point where they see so many repetitive problems, they quit asking the question. And especially the right ones.
Absolutely. So that's why you always be friendly, be patient, and patient. People are different, their personality are different, and you want to deal with all the personalities. Also, like smile. There is like 100 languages in the world for many languages, but smile speaks them all. So smile always. I think it's the key sometimes. The third kind of user, which is advanced users, which is the one I'm afraid of. Usually, sometimes they are much better than me, which is I got surprised, even in the same level. But in the other way, they are why I'm afraid of, because they are arguing. So with the advanced people, you should be patient. And they are asking for lots of things you can do, and you don't have, let's say, the permission to do it. What they are trying to do is usually they are trying to do things that's new, and they don't have access. So, for example, if they want to install their applications by themselves, they want to do the configurations for their applications by themselves, because I want it this way. But we can't let you do it by your way. This is like the thing. Especially this is like coming back to the IT people. We won't have even like more than one person or two at maximum who have their root access. And usually the things that expert users are asking for needs our access, which is, we said, like always we are so we can do. The other thing is they want more attention. But if you know that if it comes to you, they come because there's something really serious. There's a really real problem that they want to ask about. They won't like come to you, oh, I don't have access, I didn't load the model or whatever regarding other users. But you will be afraid about the problem that they will bring. Yes.
Well, and part of it too is that they typically have a very good sense of what they should be able to expect from a particular application on a particular platform. And if your system is not meeting that expectation, they want to understand why, and they want to make sure that you are committed to fixing that.
Absolutely. So that's why, if you want to work in this field, you should be an expert. You want to know exactly what to answer, because they are even better than intermediate users. Like, we're specifying if you are lying or if you are like not saying it. And they can actually argue. arguing about that issue, and they can like beat you, even though. Then after that, you're gonna look bad, and you don't want to be in this situation. The thing is, even though they are very beneficial for us, because they even like they can discover some issues that happens to the system, and even they can share with us. The other thing, they don't have time, or they don't play the role of teachers or guidance for other users, because usually they are experts and they don't have time to deal with that issues. Usually they are, like from my experience, they are like faculty members, usually like expert people, they are faculty members, and there is some postdoc students who have been working with the HPC field for a long time. This is my expectation. The percentage of these users are really like low, and there are few people, like I don't think so they exceed 10 to 20% from all the users. I think it's less than this. I think, you know, like it depends on the institution. Some institutions, for example, will like have a bigger amount or as many as people like working with the HPC field as a faculty member, it's gonna get higher. But usually, yes, it's less than 10%. This is like, I guess, from my experience. I don't want to take more time about it. So for some practicing or some common approach to use, I want to be like focus about like be completely transparent. That's it. If you do that, they want sometimes more attention. They want the explanation of everything because they know how things are, you know, working and it's going on. So be honest and just do it. There is some I'm gonna just go fast about the policies. It's really very important if you are working in the HPC field, working the HPC, you know, computer center. It's very, very important to have policies because if you don't have them, you're gonna lose. Everything with like low policies and all the users are the same. It's good to have a clear ones, also publish them, and tell people where it's located. And sometimes it's good sometimes to remind people about the policies by sending emails with the attached policies on it. I think it's a good idea if you have a group users, like send them like regularly any changes happen to that, just inform them about these changes. It's very important. Even though it's good to have their opinion about some policies, because you are making these policies because of the users, to help them. Having their opinion is very important. It's going to help you, you know, to do your work smoothly and have less, you know, trouble. Even though, like sometimes, share these policies and get sometimes some feedback. If this is good or not. If it's people like are not arguing about it, they don't like it, you can change or you can make some changes. Which is like not bad. But make it like fair share. Everybody have their own, you know, like this responsibilities and their own fair share resources. But sometimes it's not bad, even though to have some exceptions. Some people like, especially like for advanced users, sometimes they really need some exceptions for their research. If you can't do it, like have a conversation with your team. If it's possible, why not? And make sure that changes doesn't affect other users, which is very important. If it doesn't affect other users, I think it's a good way to do it. If we can help you, it's our pleasure. For the maintenance and scheduling the maintenance, usually like the HPC centers for the CI resources, like for infrastructure. So usually we have like even some centers they have yearly maintenance. Some centers they have like quarterly. Some than like have twice a year. So that's okay. That's happening, and it's important. But there are some procedures you should, follow before doing the maintenance. First of all, like inform people about the time. Usually, like 1 month ahead, or depends on what the users that you have and the amount of jobs. Even though some jobs or some procedures you should do also with the maintenance, like make the queues like nothing is running. You can do maintenance while jobs are running on your cluster, so you should clear the queue. And after that, even though you can transfer, like you can do some work for people, like they can continue their work, you can transfer the jobs if it's possible to other clusters, which is, I think, it's a good procedure that you can do. And don't let anybody to access that cluster. You are doing maintenance, so you don't want anybody to mess up with your cluster. The other thing, give a report what happened, because sometimes maintenance happens because we expand our cluster, expand the storage capabilities of the cluster. So give a report, and it's a good what's happened. And the last thing, and the very important thing, test and test and test. Because usually, like 90% of the maintenance of the cluster, there's also problem. And usually, like, I don't know if you have experienced this issue, like, usually if you plan to do the maintenance, like, by today, and you told people it's gonna running by today, it's gonna, like, you get an email, it's postponed in 1 week or 2 weeks. Because usually what's happened, like, problems happen, especially if you have expanded your system. But, test and test, having people informed, that's a good procedure. Personality management. People who are working as a cyber infrastructure user support, it's very important for them to have a very good personal aspects. Patient, very important. Friendly, very important. Know how to communicate, very, very important. Sense of humor, it's good, but not for the way that is make people feel uncomfortable. I think this is like some aspects. Some people they can have it by themselves from their own. Some people they, learn it. Some people they don't have it. So I think it's very important for people who are working with the user support to have these personalities. People are different. You will deal with all kinds of people, and you have to accept all in a good way. That's very. I don't know how much time we have. 5 minutes. Okay. Helping versus doing the work. This is a very important point, which is really, really I test a lot. You have to distinguish, and I think between your coworkers, between your director. This is what you should do. This is what you should do. Some people, some users, they come, oh, okay, I want to do this program. Can you do it for me? No, I'm sorry. This is not my work. I can't do it. I don't have time to do it. For sure, in the flight. Some people, they come to you like, oh, okay, I have a problem with my own machine. Can you do it? I can't, I'm sorry. Because I'm working here, I'm working for a specific. I think it's very important for people to distinguish, even though somebody comes to you, just talk to them about it. This is, I shouldn't do it. There's a lot of people that come with their research. Actually, and they want you to do their research. And actually, we help many people. And then at the end, we get nothing. And sometimes, like, usually, like, they should, like, we also, like, so there's lots of people, they appreciate it. We got our names, actually, in lots of the acknowledgements of the papers and publications. But yeah, this is very important to distinguish. Education and outreach. How we can, reach people or HPC users. Emails, advertising brochures, sometimes digital signage, events announcement, or orientation announcement. So all of these we were using it at the UMass first, and actually it's make a big difference. Really. And one of the last thing was students are coming to the orientation as a graduate students. They are coming to the orientation. So why don't we go and have like 15 minutes talk to them and just let them about our resources and how to use it? Because there's a big potential that they're gonna like need it. Training and tutorials, workshops. So what we did, introduction to high performance computing, introduction to Linux, intermediate Linux and advanced Linux. You can have some workshops like this. How to write secrets, introduction to Python. We did like SPSS and R. And maybe we can do more in that. Webinars, online videos in the websites. You can, post some online videos or good resources. Online courses. We have an online course or a training course that we have. Onboarding training, which is one-to-one onboarding training. Customized classes. There's encouraged, like for example, computer science department to have specific courses for people like or who want to use the HPC. Deal with users issue.
You do good.
Yes. So deals with users issues. There is how to deal with problems. How to listen from people. How people can reach you from their problems. I think there's many ways. One way we were using, for example, we have like a group email that is people are sending like Slack, but it's in the email. We got the email, all the team got the email. Who can help? They can just reply to the email. Who can help? Can send an email for an appointment, scheduling for appointment. This is one way. The other way, ticket system, which is I think lots of HPC centers they are using it. You will submit your issue, it goes to one of the employees or the coworkers, and then they're gonna work on it and then just like give you and inform you step by step what's going on with till like your problem is gonna be solved. Office hours. I think this is a very, very, very good issue or very good point. Office hours, we have office hours usually, and we try to cover the whole days with the office hours. I do, for example, like 6 hours. If we have as many employees, that we can cover the whole week. So we have all the time somebody take care of people who just visit and they have their own problems. On-site visit. Sometimes people are lazy to come to you. They want, we want to solve this problem. I have my own machine. I don't know how to use it with my machine. I don't want to use your machine because they don't feel comfortable. So they thought there is a magic in your machine that's like make it working. But like, yeah, sometimes we do on-site visit. So we go to the faculty's offices, to the student labs. We try to help them. Personalized meeting, one-to-one meeting, or group meetings, we do it. So these are some skills are needed for people who wants to work as cyber infrastructure user support. They have to know like advanced Linux skills, HPC knowledge, parallel programming, secret programming, and interested in the new technologies, like for example, FPGAs, GPUs, or whatever comes. Personal skills, we already talked about it. This is like the process usually. There's some users, they have some issues. Some of them, they want to get their job done very fast. Some of them, they don't know even how to use the HPC. Some of them, they have their problems with their secrets or submitting jobs. So as a cyber infrastructure user support, we come and we have advertisement, brochures, we reach them. Then after that, we provide them workshops, onboarding training for site until they got familiar with. I'm happy to share some results with you. This is like some of our results at the University of State University, and we can see how important is our team. This is actually before the CIA team begins. So whereas the number of users of HPC was 21. So after we started, you can see in 1 year or 1.5 years, it jumps to 179. Yes?
Where are you gathering that metric? The number of users on your systems or the number
It's
of
in the
clients?
system.
Okay.
It's in the system. So the number of users in the system. And usually, actually, these numbers exclude in the, like administrator and,
Because I would assume you got client engagements that only involve helping them out with their own machine and not using your system.
to be honest, let me be honest with you. Like, there's lots of users are just like don't use the system, just like register over there. I mean, like there's a few people like are very active, but yeah, like for the user that we have, it's just like the users. We didn't have any specification, just got the number of the system. But I think we can't get this. Yeah, we can't get this amount of people or as many people as registered like without. To prove that, it's not just like a number of the users. So this is the comparison between like a succeed or successful jobs versus a failed jobs. So as you see here, some part of the before using our team, the failed jobs were really like high. Then whereas like when we started or when we worked as a CI user support, we did a good job. Another way, we have a culture shift in our campus. For example, people, they weren't able to know that they can use our system during holidays or during the vacations, or even though they don't know how to use it like outside their campus. So before I was doing it, like people like in the holidays and spring break, as you see, the utilization of the system is almost like nothing. Whereas after we started, as you see, the utilization of the system is like people are using our system. I think we don't have time, right? We already like finished. This is my last quote. Just like I want to share it with you guys. It's like for Albert Einstein. And if you guys have any questions, you are very welcome to ask. Yes.
How big was the staff involved in running the figures that you had?
To be honest, we were always like I was working as a part-time as a grad student over there. We have the director, our like director, Dr. Dan, and as I remember, we were like 6 people, almost 6 people, like as because like the resources that we have were like small. We just like had one cluster.
6 people doing facilitation or 6 people total?
No, like in the facilitation, I'm saying. Like facilitation, I think we are 5 with Diana, I can't the director, which is Diana. Like we are as a team 6. We have one system admin for the HPC, and we have a co-admin also as under one. So
Like the remaining facilitators are students, right?
we are all students.
So that's the difference.
Yeah,
Not
okay.
staff.
We are not staff. Just like recently Diana, she just like got hired. We were all like grad students. Oh, we learned. Yeah. Another question? Yeah.
I've got one in the chat. Any online resources or links to learn technical aspects required to be a CI facilitator?
Here. Like here, it's like the best resource for you guys. I think I was thinking actually. There's some ideas come to my mind. Why we don't have something called TICU instead of YouTube? TICU just like for something just like videos and tutorials just related to computer science field or like HPC. Like they have some we can do some categorize. There's a lots of online resources, but from my experience, this is the best way here. Like the SIRF is the best resource for you. Contacting people if you have any questions. Contacting people in your institution is the best resource. There is some. If you want to learn about parallel programming, there is like lots of online resources. YouTube also sometimes they have some Exceed. I think Exceed is a very, very good resource also. They have a very good online resources and very good helping system. And it's a very big community. If you are one of the grad students and you have campus champion in your institution, if you are a student, you can apply as a student campus champion. Or even if you are just an employee, I think there's like It's not a hard process to get involved with this community. It's a great community. Yes.
I'll plug two of the talks coming this week with CIB tomorrow and Thursday. So,
Oh, nice.
and
I don't know if
tomorrow-
you can share it with them, like in the chat. Maybe.
I'll be attending.
Okay, that's
They'll be
great.
playing cards only Monday.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you have any recommended ticket system software?
The one you create is the best. I think if you want to have like a ticket system, I didn't deal with as many with them, but I think you can create one. For example, like you can create like you have a list of your website with the people who are working and categorize them with their skills. For example, I'm as Mohammed. For example, I'm an expert. For example, at Python. So this people is working at Python. This person is working like with R. This person is working with like installing softwares. So if you have any issue, you can categorize or like narrow your point. So if you want to like have like a ticket, so you submit your ticket and you can prepare which one you want to deal with it. But seriously, like I don't recommend any of that. I don't know if somebody here like can share with us.
Our roommate's probably already sick of hearing me start sentences like this, but first off, does your university at large already have a ticketing system? And second, is it garbage?
That's
Yes.
actually an excellent ticketing system can make or break an idea.
If they have one and it's not complete garbage, use theirs.
Yeah.
Because you may have to punt it to his networking group or somebody's user account provisioning stuff, or because you may not be the complete everything for that ticket in the long run.
Absolutely.
Depends on how your operation is. Yes.
And this kind of goes back to along the lines of what he said. We're in the middle of completely replacing our COA, which means that with what we're bringing in an industry standard. It's been out there for like 20 years, but it has workflows that you have to fill out. So some of these tickets that will be coming in that are directly related to research computing, we don't have a clue what that workflow needs to look like. So that's where I'm here to I've got to start trying to find ways to, okay, now you're trying to run Minitab and you need to do this specific function, and it's not working like it should.
One of the problems you're going to run into, your general IT, is that research computing is not general IT.
Right.
And you need an HPC guru handy, because you're not going to be able to, it's completely different.
Right.
It's
See, that's what I've
Rick,
started
I
to
think
see.
one of the challenges that a lot of institutions have is that they don't have the budget to
Right.
have someone who is fully specialized in research computing. I think this is increasingly common as more and more institutions put a lot more emphasis onto research, and more research is computing intensive or data intensive or both.
And they don't understand that there is a big difference between just commodity IT services and research IT services. And that realistically, you're talking about taking somebody, and now let's be real, we're all in academia, so the people that get hired for help desk most likely are no more intelligent about working on computers than the least of these that they're out there supporting. They were hired because they accepted the job at 25, 30,000 and they're expected to grow into that position. Okay, so now they not only have to support the I can't print, but they have to support the research computing. That's why I was looking for something like a Reddit or an intranet, because you're not going to have two separate IT steps.
Yeah, you will.
In the end, you'll grow into that.
You will. You're going to have two separate staffs, because one of them is not IT. I don't do IT. I do, in my institution, in my organization across the street, I do the research computing. If it's an IT problem, I put it to the IT group. I ask them to keep me on the ticket so that I can go bug the guys downstairs. But I don't Yeah, I don't do desktops. I don't do Word. I have no idea what to do with Word other than punch it, put on LibreOffice. But, but I would have no clue as to how to set up a Mac or a Windows machine for somebody, or how to fix the problem on one of those. But if you want to talk about the Cray, or the workflows on the Cray, or workflows on Schooner, I can help you out. It's a completely different, it's a different mindset. And, you know, we've got some really talented people in the IT group at National Secure Storm Site. I have none of them who can actually grasp what I do with HPC, because it's a different mindset. I have to think differently from them. I have to think in terms of how the workflows that scientists, wherever those scientists might reside, have to run. I have to think about the modules that they have to load. That the guys downstairs, modules you're using, what are you using modules for? It's just not the same. So you sort of got thrown into the deep end.
Yeah, because what I'm hearing and what I know the approach has been so far is this.
This is how it should work. Have you seen this problem? And I've got free advanced users. If I go to them and say, have you seen this problem? If they all three answer no, we found a new bug. If one of them says yes, then how did you fix it? What do you do? Here's what I've got, and they'll help you fix it. But you lean on your advanced users and sometimes your intermediate users because your help desk people aren't going to know it all. But it's like Henry said, it's a mindset thing. You are going to have. There is nothing preventing almost anybody walking on this campus today from learning HPC and being able to execute it and being able to support it. But part of the support phenomenon ends up being also knowing something a little bit at some level of the applications you have to support, the workflows that have to go on, the various things like batch scheduling. I bet you haven't met a batch scheduler yet. Yeah. We have a plethora of them out there. There are religions built up amongst around some of them, and that's just yet another thing you got to learn, and you're going to have an expert on your schedule for your HPC environment. That's not going to be somebody who also goes around and fixes Windows box.
Well, they're very rapidly going to run out of time to do the latter in any case. You can start from anywhere, but over time, what inevitably, there's two choices, right? You make a success of it, in which case you have to devote more and more resources to it because there's more and more of the institution's mission riding on it. Or you fail, in which case you go back to doing the enterprise stuff, not necessarily at the same institution. I think one of the characteristics that we've seen is that most people who get into this make a good success of it. But that does mean that you end up largely getting out of the other business you were in. So what fraction of your time was research computing when you started?
When I started, I would say probably 20–25%.
And what is it today?
A bit more than that. I'd say more than 50 it's probably almost 75% right now because we're trying to grow research.
Right, and what do you figure is the end game? What will you get asymptotically closer to?
I have no idea.
100%. I think over time you get to the point where this is your life.
It'll be 110%.
Yeah,
well, yeah. Okay. I'm not going to get into the FTE fraction.
Yeah.
That's a different question.
I thought coming up here that I was, what I was lured up here with was you're going to do some research, you're going to do some modeling, and you're going to support this effort, this big effort that we've got going. Right now, I'm doing about 100% of supporting this big effort you've got going because there is an unending, regardless of the size of your user base, an unending number of people who can walk into your office and say, I didn't change anything that should have affected how it compiled. But it doesn't compile. And the fact that I'm over here and nobody has sent me a message like that today is just the side of the miracle.
So the way that I see it is like enterprise IT is more like a national guard, and then our HPC team is like the name cities. Oh, so national guard versus like Navy SEALs. That's enterprise versus like.
Maybe in terms of head count, I'm not sure there's any.
It's all in your missions are changing.
Yeah, there's a specialized core knowledge that you end up having to acquire before you don't survive.
And a level of focus that you end up having to adopt in order to make success of it. In principle, it's very easy to be bad at this. In practice, it isn't. Because you were only dumb enough to get into this because you thought it was worthwhile, because you believe in the value of the research that you're supporting, right? We all, well, many of us fell backwards into this career, right? How many of you fell backwards into this? This was not what you picked. It happened to you.
Let me state that in a different way. How many of you in this room went into an advanced degree program and were sacrificed to the CPU gods?
They're
Trying. You're here right now. You've been sacrificed.
Right? But part of the reason we fell backwards into it is because fundamentally we embrace the mission. We want to support research. And so we make a success out of it because the alternative is to fail at what we think is important, right? It matters to us whether the researchers are good at research and whether they have what they need to be able to do it. I fell backwards into this, but I also fell backwards into this when I was a sophomore. I started helping researchers use computing. It wasn't supercomputing, it wasn't HPC, it wasn't cyber infrastructure. We were so happy that we had a 10 megabyte hard drive. Stop laughing. So happy, but it was the same thing, and it mattered whether the researchers that I was supporting could do their research, and without me, they weren't going to be able to do it. So on that note, I think let's take a break. And we're coming back at what time? What does the agenda say?
3:30. We're coming back in 8 minutes, but.
Okay, we'll extend that out. Let's take a full 15 minutes, which will start us at what time? 3:22.
Let's say 3:40. Yeah.
3:40. Wallace will start his talk. Let's give Mohammed a big hand. Thank you. That was not only a great talk, but you led a great discussion. The fact that we have to all be told to shut up and go do is the proof our discussion was really great.
Henry,
Yes, oh, yeah, we're not recording.
so because my research requires